making sense is that people like this are not really even into social media and the likes, yet they are actually impacting. They are one of the big achievers and big playmakers in the field of science and technology. That's pretty interesting, and I hope we can learn something from this.
Africa, the man has not only dominated the technology ecosystem, churning out innovations by the dozens in a sector which remains alien to many of his contemporaries, but which for him is a playground where he has continued to find relevance and expression, giving the millennials and Gen Z something to think about and look up to. In his words,
sometimes when you look at this kind of people, you discover that while so many Africans and Nigerians are in quotes, just flocking to the jackpot syndrome, where people migrate for better opportunities and greener pastures. You see that people like these are actually still making it in the midst of there is no power supply, power cuts, infrastructure problems, and so many other things that actually act as stumbling blocks to making it. So I think it should be a food for thought for us, for everyone in Africa, that you should be among those who actually make it in the midst of the odds, rather than seeking. I'm not saying you shouldn't seek for greener pastures. You can, but then you should remove from our minds that it is until we, in quote, japa or migrate to these other countries that we can actually make things happen right here on our soil, in our home country. Okay, so welcome back to the channel. Now today I want us to take a preview on one of the great entrepreneurs we have in Nigeria, and this is actually a video from Intervlog. I'm going to leave the description and the original video just beneath the comment section. So let's bring up our biros and pens and take notes of some things that we can actually learn from.
Sunday, showing you where development is happening. Please come and join us. As an indigenous IT powerhouse with global connections, Xinox is proud to be the first internationally certified branded computer OEM, original equipment manufacturer in West Africa, the first OEM in West Africa to receive the
That's impressive. The first OEM in Africa. That means they are actually really into the digital space and technology.
HQL, Windows Hardware Quality Labs certification, and the first computer hardware manufacturing and ICT integration company in Nigeria to receive the ISO 9001-2000.
ISO 9001. Wow, that's very, very interesting.
Leonard Stanley Namdi Eka, born February 22nd, 1956. In Imo State, Nigeria, is a Nigerian.
I think you should forget the pronunciation of this. I don't know whether it's an AI text-to-speech voiceover they are using. Actually, it's the Imo State. Imo State is one of the states in Nigeria.
Nigerian businessman. He is the founder and chairman of Shinox Group.
And the Shinox is mentioning is actually Xinox, pronounced Xinox, not Shinox.
Mystified. If an American can do it, I can do it better, and I boast that I can do it better.
Wow.
I understand the architecture.
This is very interesting. This man is attesting to the fact that if an American can do it, he can do it, and he can do it better. This is the kind of confidence we need in Africa. We don't always have to act the narrative of underdevelopment, or fit the narrative, try to fit ourselves into narratives of certain people who feel they are superior of some sort.
Africans are taking control, and this is what civilization is all about.
He is also the chairman.
I like the confidence of this man. This chairman of Xinox, and I feel that we should also draw from this and get inspired by this kind of icon, or will I put it that way?
Of Conga, Com. Eka was born in Ubamiri and Bitoli, Imo State, to a middle-class family with 3 brothers and 2 sisters. His mother was a dietitian and his father was a nurse. Leo Stan Eka started Shinox Technologies Limited in 2001 to manufacture computers. He ensured that at launch, Shinox computers already had the WHQL certification, the first sub-Saharan Africa, consolidated 5 years later with the attainment of the NIS ISO 2000 to 9001 QMS certification. In October 2013, the company announced the production of its computer tablet line named Zipod. In February 2018, ECA's company, Shinox, acquired Conga.
Wow, that is another milestone. Acquiring Conga. I never even knew Conga had been acquired by Xenox, and Conga is one of the big actors in the e-commerce, in the e-commerce section in Nigeria's. Edit that out. Conga is actually one of the big players in e-commerce in Nigeria.
Com from its owners, buying 99% of the total company shares.
99% of the total company shares. That's pretty much very, very impressive and inspiring indeed.
Leo Stan Eka, Africa's technology miracle child. Rarely in this part of the world would you find a man like Leonard Namdi Stanley Eka, better known as Leo Stan Eka. For starters, Leo Stan, as he is fondly addressed, is not your regular fellow. He ranks well and truly as an unusual entrepreneur, one who is not only absolutely outstanding at what he does, but a man who also stands head and shoulders apart from his peers. The story of technology in Africa and in his native Nigeria would decidedly be incomplete without a mention of the many pioneering roles Eka played in this domain.
This is very, very interesting.
But it is in chronicling his amazing journey of well over 3 decades in the field of technology that some of the exciting qualities that make Eka outstanding align in sharp contrast. Born on April 22, 1956, in the rustic town of Imo State, Eka is of the baby boomer generation, often defined as people born from 1946 to 1964.
That was interesting, from 1946 to 64. Baby boomers.
During the post-World War II baby boom. Remarkably, members of this generation fall among the most digitally disadvantaged, especially when compared to their more technology-savvy counterparts in the Millennials or Gen Z generation. In fact, research by the Pew Internet Project shows that baby boomers dominate globally among current internet non-users. But it goes even beyond that. More than half of the members of this generation say the main reason they don't go online now is because they don't think the internet is relevant. For these ones,
Really?
take away Facebook or WhatsApp and you cut off probably their only links to the digital world. Yet, Eka, who was recently honoured as the Forbes Best of Africa leading tech icon, remains an outlier. For decades here in Africa...
So what is meaning in essence is that people like this are not really even into social media and the likes, yet they are actually impacting. They are one of the big achievers and big playmakers in the field of science and technology. That's pretty interesting, and I hope we can learn something from this.
Africa, the man has not only dominated the technology ecosystem, churning out innovations by the dozens in a sector which remains alien to many of his contemporaries, but which for him is a playground where he has continued to find relevance and expression, giving the millennials and Gen Z something to think about and look up to. In his words,
sometimes when you look at this kind of people, you discover that while so many Africans and Nigerians are, in quotes, just flocking to the jackpot, the jackpot syndrome, where people migrate for better opportunities and greener pastures. You see that people like these are actually still making it in the midst of there is no power supply, power cuts, infrastructure problems, and so many other things that actually act as stumbling blocks to making it. So I think it should be a food for thought for us, for everyone in Africa, that you should be among those who actually make it in the midst of the odds, rather than seeking. I'm not saying you shouldn't seek for greener pastures. You can, but then you shouldn't. We should remove from our minds that it is until we, in quote, japa or migrate to these other countries that we can actually make things happen right here on our soil, in our home country.
Despite my age, I feel very young. My eldest son will tell anyone who cares to listen, Chairman is even younger at heart than many of us in the younger generation. This is very important because I operate in a sector that is dominated by young people. I build products and solutions that are largely consumed by the youths. I must understand their mindset and reasoning. I have to be like them in order to succeed, he once stated at a public event. But if his unusual pizzazz as a technology guru ranks as a misnomer, it would be in keeping with the rest of his nature. Restless but blessed with the brains of a genius, Eka's personal life story further demonstrates the peculiarities of a maverick who stands apart and alone, a miracle child or digital orphan, as he often describes himself. He has never tasted alcohol from childhood till date, neither has he ever smoked, be it the regular cigarettes or any of the more exotic stuff.
And that even brings me to this logical fact, like what the moderator is saying. You need to be disciplined if you want to succeed. If you want to be successful and be an achiever, you need to create rules and live by certain rules. Otherwise, you're just going to be end up like you could as well just distort your plans and your goals and your objectives, and you might not achieve much. All right. Now, going by this moderator's comment about him, this man seems to be a very, very disciplined and focused person.
That are as varied in the names or configurations that abound today. It is interesting, while restating the unusual individualness that distinguishes Eka, to observe that unlike many Nigerian entrepreneurs whose little beginnings are often glossed over or consigned to the rubbish heap of history when they emerge, Eka's remarkable rise to the pinnacle of success as a digital entrepreneur is thrown into sharp relief by the obstacles, the challenges, the struggles he faced, all of which he surmounted on his entrepreneurial journey.
There will always be challenges. That's just what you need to understand here. And these challenges are not permanent. And they're not even the issue. The issue should be you getting to your goal. There has to be a goal, an objective that you are. So you shouldn't allow those challenges to illusion you or to put you in an illusionary mode. Rather, you should focus despite the challenges and get to your destination.
It is not a secret that Eka used to live in the same apartment that housed his first office, or that his unerring knowledge of Lagos roads comes partly from the fact that he used to drive a commercial bus for fun with his friends. A devout Catholic and former mass servant, Eka, unknown to many, cheated death early in life, surviving a ghastly accident that left him with multiple stitches in his upper left arm while on the verge of leaving the country for studies abroad, a development which ultimately resulted in him missing resumption in the UK and eventually opting for India, where he enrolled for a degree program in economics at the highly respected Punjab University.
Wow.
But the entire adventure...
That means he actually enrolled for economics, and he's not even a computer science graduate, but yet he's making impact in the computing space. So you don't really have to have a background of computer science to come into the computer science field. You can come from any field and make the most impact in computing. All right, and this is something that is very important that we should all take note of.
Would appear as if fate was playing a hand in, forging the man's destiny. India, at the time Eka stepped foot there, was a nation struggling to convert its huge potential and undoubted human capital to wealth.
Now, India converting its human capital to wealth is something that I feel Nigeria needs to do also. They need to replicate this model. If their populations in Nigeria and as ascribed as the most populous country in Africa, black country in Africa and the world, I think Nigeria needs to step up its game in terms of harnessing its population to become a productive country, because as we all know, the economic meltdown over subsidy and so many other things, while it's still having impact on the country, what Nigeria needs to really do is, instead of importing things from foreign soils, putting pressure on foreign currency reserves and the likes, why not create jobs for these Nigerians? If you've been to Nigeria, you see there's so many artisans, mechanics, name it, all over the place. So just creating an enable environment for these people to produce things could be a very good idea, such that all these imported items being shipped from countries far away from Nigeria can be produced within its borders, and hence reduce pressure on foreign demand for currency, especially the US dollar, which as Nigeria's local currency has always trailed over the years.
Perhaps, not surprisingly, his time in India contributed a great deal in imbuing Eka with some of the remarkable fighting spirit and uncommon zeal to succeed he is renowned for. As he puts it, studying in India was a great turning point in my life because I found the economy of India a realistic economy. Lest we forget, it was in that same India that Eka met the cerebral Chioma Eka, the love of life and reliable sidekick, the woman who would become his wife and who at the time turned out to be the only Nigerian studying mathematics at the university. Moving on from India and seeking further studies in the UK, Eka had his eyes open to an environment which saw no future for Nigeria or Africa in technology back then. His tutors at Ireland's Cork City University, where he elected to study computer science, had painstakingly studied his temperament and character, correctly identifying him as a restless, smart and business-minded chap who would probably end up frustrated if he returned to his native Nigeria at the completion of his studies. But Eka has never been one to run from a challenge. Armed with a postgrad...
Wow, that's great. I mean, being someone that does not run from challenges, that's a very big plus, and it seems as if that even helped him out eventually.
Graduate degree in risk management from a shared course at Nottingham University and City University, London. He had been faced with the prospect of completing a master's degree in business law at what is known today as London Metropolitan University, or terminating the program after 8 months and converting his final school fees to return to Nigeria and launch his first company.
Wow, did you guys get that? He actually suspended paying his last term of school fees and used that money to return back to Nigeria to start his business, his entrepreneurships, ideas. And this, you can imagine, this is just too brilliant.
Task Systems Limited. Eka chose the latter, and the rest, as they say, is history. For a man whose early ambition was once to own the largest transport company in Nigeria, Leo Stan Eka's pivot to the technology business, as well as his subsequent dedication to creating a digital identity for Nigeria and putting the country and Africa, by extension, on the global map, is the stuff of legend. Eka's many exploits, pioneering desktop publishing and computer graphics in West Africa and computerizing over 95% of media, multimedia houses, and book publishing houses in Nigeria in 1987 through Task Systems, pioneering digital dispensing fuel pumps in partnership with Elf Petroleum and Schlumberger, France, through his company Stan Oil, after he was cheated by a fuel attendant using the analog pumps. Launch of the first locally assembled and internationally certified computer brand in sub-Saharan Africa, Shinox Computers, pioneering sub-Saharan Africa's leading and biggest technology products distribution company, TD Africa. Deployment of the single largest e-library and wireless cloud rollout in Africa. His status as the early pioneer of e-commerce in Africa with Buyrite Africa. His sterling role in midwifing the biometric digital revolution in Nigeria, saving the country huge embarrassment by delivering the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, voters registration in 2006 when foreign contractors could not deliver after months of promises.
Wow, foreign contractors could not deliver after months of promising. You see, this is part of what we're talking about here. Nigeria needs to focus on local production and take local production seriously. there's still so many products, so many things that can actually be sourced within the borders of Nigeria, and is still being imported. So I wouldn't know how those in authority can actually help to work to reduce completely drastically, reduce to less than 1% of imports. So many things, so many unnecessary goods and items are still being dumped on the shores of Nigeria. Imagine this product now being mentioned, this INEC device or software, being imported or could not even be delivered, despite the fact that the contract was given and awarded, perhaps paid for, and yet someone within the country was able to help to, fix this problem and get the job done. So this certainly just indicates that we need to look inwards rather than outwards.
Repeating the feat 4 years later when he supervised the biggest single ICT digital rollout in Africa with the deployment of the Direct Data Capture (DDC) project with INEC in 2010, valued back then at over $170 million, among many others too numerous to list out here, are well chronicled. But it is to the credit of his indefatigable nature and passion for Nigeria that at an age when many of his peers were considering calling time on their careers, Eka decided to take on a challenge that even the most optimistic of his backers saw as a suicide attempt. In early 2018, Eka and his team had announced the acquisition of Konga, a once thriving indigenous platform which held the status of being one of the latter day, the pioneers of the new wave of e-commerce in Nigeria. But
he's acquiring Konga seems to be one of the greatest feasts, you see, and this also brings us to the fact that whatever it is you're doing, you need to improve on it. If you are on a skill set, you should expand that skill set. If you check out one of my videos, I was linking PHP, SQL, Laravel to Java. There's a way I teach students this programming language, and I extended the knowledge, the basic knowledge and advanced knowledge in this language to Java, to Python, to React Native, and of course to other languages. So if you are mastering, or if you've mastered a single language like PHP, SQL, and Laravel and the frameworks, then it is also possible for you to expand to others as well. .NET, name them, the list goes on. Kotlin and the likes. So these things are things that eventually could help you, hone your skills and, just become perfect in your field.
Which, at the point of acquisition from its erstwhile owners, South African headquartered NASPAs and Swedish-based AB Kinovich, was almost on its last days. It was a piece of business whose echoes reverberated around the corridors of the global business world. For many, the acquisition of Konga would be the final straw that would break the irrepressible juggernaut that Eka represented. Such was the enormity of the task that lay in resuscitating the brand and restoring its glory days. Or so it seemed. 4 years down the line, Konga, written off by many, has under new management not only risen from the ashes of its near exit from the Nigerian e-commerce market, but is now the toast of desirous investors the world over and being touted as the potential leader of e-commerce in Africa. It is proof of the magic wand.
You see, based on his acquiring Konga now, it has actually rejuvenated and geometrically just expanded the limits of this local-based company.
That Eka wields, that gifted touch he brings to bear, and the sagacity mastermind at work behind his always clean-shaven pate that Konga, which reports reveal was once hemorrhaging about N400 meters per month, is today the first African e-commerce brand to turn a profit. No doubt, Leo Stan, as his friends call him, is a national treasure, but he remains a man whom many believe, and rightly so, has hardly received the recognition and acclaim he deserves from successive Nigerian governments. A man of extreme humility and a renowned philanthropist, Eka's massive contribution in promoting digital democracy.
See, this is another thing. You don't really need to wait for people to recognize you. The most important thing is impacting lives. There are so many people with qualifications, that have paper qualifications here and there and the likes, but you discover that, you know, having paper qualifications, PhD and all that might be good, yes, but these are not the most important thing. The most important thing is, how have you been able to impact lives? What have you been able to do to change your community, your environment, you know, your family, your friends, your extended family, the nation, your state, the country at large, you know, the world at large? What have you been able to do to impact it? Because if you're just a dull, boring person who just has paper qualifications and just keeps speaking grammar and the likes without really impacting people's lives, you know, at the grassroots, you discover that you still have a lot to do.
And ushering millions of Nigerians and Africans into the digital ecosystem remain unmatched across the continent. It would appear Eka, who has never hidden his ambition of building the first and biggest 360 degrees integrated ICT conglomerate out of Africa, has come full circle on his wish, especially with the addition and impressive turnaround of Conga, now a flourishing e-commerce giant, to a formidable cast of thriving entities in the Xinox group with proven and advanced competencies in a wide variety of tech-driven deliverables across verticals. But it is also in keeping with Eka's status as a rarefied, unusual breed of entrepreneur that one would be hugely surprised if he quits innovating. As he succinctly phrased it, "My strategy from childhood as a poor fellow was to cause disruption innovations, hence the decision to venture into technology which allows room for constant innovation. The only way I can sustain my dominance in the marketplace is through constant innovation, and this is tied to sleeping less and eating healthy. It is important that in that hunger to be successful, you institute strong auditable system and structure which sustain your business. Africa's technology miracle child remains the poster child of all that is great in humanity." This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlogs same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please subscribe, comment and like this video, and till next time, cheers and all the best.